Day 5 of Media Week here at the Rose Bowl. We are actually at the Rose Bowl. AJ Jacobson of Duck Sports Authority and Rivals.com. I'm Warren Williamson of Oregon Duck Football News. An interesting morning.
Yeah.
One of the most interesting things is we've never been able to be part of and shoot the team photo, which Oregon did earlier today just underneath the Rose Bowl sign. So that was a first for us.
Yeah, that was kind of fun. The highlight for me was when the In-N-Out Burger guys walked by.
Yeah.
That really got my juices flowing. But then also I loved how at the end of the formal team photo, Coach Cristobal let them have a fun shot or two where they're having a really good time.
Yeah.
So I think when the video comes out of that and they share it online, that'll be kind of fun.
So it was Media Day. Only the two deep roster was here in the big tent behind us, offense and defense. And I had a chance to talk to Penei Sewell. Of course, Penei won the Outland Trophy, and he was just ecstatic. And you can certainly talk about this, the historical value of one of Oregon's players winning that trophy.
Well, it's an amazing accomplishment. That goes to the best lineman in college football. And a sophomore offensive lineman has never won it before. So it's just an amazing feat, and to have him recognized like that has got to set the tone for not just this offensive line that's here now, but on the recruiting side of things. I mean, if you're an offensive lineman and you know that the head coach is an offensive line guy, and the guy that a sophomore just won the Outland Trophy, it's got to make you think, hey, that might not be a bad place to play tackle football. So I think there's a lot of ramifications beyond just great for Penei Sewell, who is absolutely deserving of that award.
In fact, AJ, to that point, all of the offensive linemen, except for Penei, were sitting at one table, and we talked about, is there going to be a campaign for Sewell for Heisman next year?
Well, I think we've already started it. There's a little hashtag action going there on Twitter, but you know, if ever there's been an offensive lineman that's caught my eye, that's been just a high quality above what you ever going to see, Penei Sewell's it. That guy just finishes his blocks, and I mean, if it weren't for the fact these Heisman voters tend to go for the glory positions, Penei Sewell's got to be, if not the best player in college football, one of the top several.
I know you had a chance to talk to defensive line coach Joe Salavea. Tell me about that conversation.
Well, Salavea is just he's just full of juice, that guy, and we just a fantastic conversation. Talked about Kayvon Thibodeaux and his development, and we talked about Jordan Scott and what a quality young man he is on and off the field. And when I'm talking to Coach Salavea, it's obvious that his enthusiasm for the game and his knowledge of the details of being a defensive lineman pervades through, and that's why his defensive line is so good. He's a guy full of juice, like I said, and so are his guys now.
I found it interesting. Kayvon, speaking of Kayvon, he was kind of off by himself, and nobody was talking to him, and then you went over and had a short, brief conversation with him.
Yeah, and the thing was that we had like 35 guys in the room and probably 35 journalists. So not everyone is going to get talked to, and certainly, Kayvon Thibodeaux deserves everyone's attention, but we had just spoken with him the other day, so there weren't a ton of people talking to him. But my favorite part of my conversation with him today was I said, hey, okay, what's your favorite move? How do you get to the quarterback so nicely? And he said, hey, man, that's my little secret. If I give that away, then my juice is blown. So he wouldn't tell me his favorite move, but I think when you watch him play, he's got plenty of them.
Let's switch to the offense. You had a sit-down conversation with running backs coach Jim Mastro, who's actually in line to maybe take the OC position. Yeah. That's what the rumor is, but not sure if that's true or not, but he's certainly been talked about for that position. Yeah,
and with Coach Mastro, what we talked about was the fact that he's got 3 guys on his unit that could be a starter for most of the teams in the country, and yet here at Oregon, they're just the 3 deep, and he's able to rotate all these guys in, keep them relatively healthy because of it. And then we kind of talked about what the strength of each one of his 3 guys' game is, and then we also talked about the fact that no blocky, no rocky, because he's a big believer, and if you're not going to block, you're not going to play for me. So just a great guy, very intense football coach, but he, again, these guys are pleasures to talk to. They're real people, and they treat us like real people.
You also sat down with Ken Wilson, who's a linebackers coach at University of Oregon, and this is where your readers will really enjoy this because you had a chance to talk to him about these new recruits.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Since they had that early signing period and they've signed on the dotted line, they're able to talk about individual recruits without being an NCAA violation. So he and I were able to talk about Noah Sewell, who's a 5-star linebacker. We were able to talk about Justin Flo, another 5-star linebacker, and the excitement level of having guys like that sign with the Ducks. I mean, this is uncharted territory for Duck recruiting to have 2 5-star linebackers in one class. And then you add them into a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau, who was last year's 5-star. And then you add a guy like Mace Funa, a fantastic, as a high 4-star, underrated no less, because he was hurt his senior year. But they've got such high quality players on defense coming up in the next several years. I wouldn't be surprised if they have one of the top defenses in the nation going forward, because they've got great coaching, great recruiting on the defense. Well, both sides, but certainly defense. The future is very, very bright in Eugene.
I was just going to ask you about that. With what they have coming in, they've recruited so well, and this defense, I think, is going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely. Now, they improved 10 points over last season, so they're giving up 10 points less per game than they did last year. The big change was Coach Avalos coming in.
Sure.
So, and that's what the coaches were telling me today when I was asking them, how did the defense improve so much? They said, well, a lot of it's Coach Avalos, and a lot of it's just the fact that Coach Cristobal's now been here 2 seasons, and all the quality of his work is starting to trickle down through the entire squad. So it's not just one guy, but it takes a village to field a great defense, and luckily for the Ducks, they have that village.
You and I have done this. This is our 3rd Rose Bowl, and it seems like every time we come into this facility that we are just amazed to be here in front of this Rose Bowl, just the enormity of this game and of this place.
It just feels different. I mean, first of all, just you can kind of tell because of the security, because I mean, it is so tight around here. You go through like 55 barricades and 50 people checking your IDs and this and that just to get it, just to get through the first gate. So it's fantastic, and you can just feel the juice flowing right now. I mean, if you guys were here, you'd feel it too, because they're getting set up. I mean, it's several days before, or 2 days before the game, but they're already getting set up behind us here. All these tents, all the food. Man, there's a reason it's called the granddaddy of them all. It's not because it's a little thing.
Right. This isn't all football. Of course, that's why we're here. But the players and us were able to have a little bit of fun. We were able to get Shane Lemieux to act as our Oregon Duck Football News Duck Sports Authority correspondent this afternoon, or this morning, inside the tent. It was so great to see him go out and do some interviews.
Yeah, you know what? I love me some Shane Lemieux to begin with, but for him to help us out today was really sweet, and really, really, really quality young man. But that's a kind of a theme when we talk about these Oregon football players. They don't recruit guys that aren't going to fit into that locker room.
Right.
So the reason that we are getting along so well with these guys is because they're doing such a masterful job bringing in good people. So Shane Lemieux's one of them. Had a lot of fun with him today, but every conversation you have with that guy's a good one.
So the last thing I want to ask you, AJ, is we've got 2 days now before this enormous game takes place on New Year's Day. Just your thoughts about this team leaving today. In fact, the Oregon buses are still behind us, but what do they do in these next 24 to 48 hours?
Be nervous. This is the time for nerves to start setting in, because they understand the enormity of this game, and they were very relaxed today. They're having fun, but I think the focus is really, going to start really focusing in right now. And I know, talking to the guys, that they were telling me that, man, I wish the game was today and not in 2 days, because they are ready to go. I don't know what more they can possibly do. They're ready for the game. They don't have more preparation to put in and everything, but they're ready now. But we're going to wait 2 more days, then we're going to do it.
And this senior class, what would it mean to them to go out with a win?
Well, I think it just kind of would validate all their hard work.
Sure.
And that's when we talk to the guys, that's what they want to do is validate how hard they're working, and that's what these wins are doing, and hopefully they'll finish, hopefully for them and for you Duck fans, that they finish on the high note.
So day 5 of Rose Bowl week here in Southern California. We are actually in Pasadena. Day 5 almost in the books. Tomorrow is the head coach's interview day at the Media Hotel, and then New Year's Eve, and then of course it's game day. So thanks for joining us. We'll come back with you tomorrow. For AJ Jacobson of Duck Sports Authority and Rivals.com, I'm Warren Williamson of Oregon Duck Football News. We'll see you guys tomorrow.